Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're going on a journey to Middle-earth, to explore the world of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings.
I'm a classic.
But we're not just gonna, revisit the epic battles and the fantastical creatures. We're going deeper.
Deeper.
Yeah, we're gonna delve into the foreword and appendices of the Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think you'll be surprised by how much these often overlooked sections reveal about Tolkien's, well, his genius.
It really is like, it's like getting a glimpse behind the scenes, isn't it? It's like peeking behind the curtain to see how the magic happens.
Exactly. And one of the things that really struck me right off the bat was Tolkien's strong stance against allegory in the foreword.
Oh, right.
He prefers what he calls history, true or feigned.
Hmm.
And he even goes on to say that people often confuse applicability with allegory. What do you think he means by that?
Well, I think it's a really crucial distinction. You see, Tolkien believed that while readers can certainly find personal meaning and connections in The Lord of the Rings, he didn't intend for it to be a direct allegory of any specific event or situation.
So you're saying even though he served in World War I and experienced the horrors of war firsthand, he didn't want readers to view The Lord of the Rings as a direct commentary on war?
Exactly. I mean, his experiences undoubtedly shaped his writing, of course. But, the themes of loss, courage, the struggle against darkness, those are certainly present.
Right.
But I think what Tolkien really wanted was to create a world that felt, well, real.
Right.
A world with its own history, its own languages, its own cultures.
Its own internal consistency.
Exactly. And he wanted readers to have the freedom to find their own meaning in his work. Applicability, it's about how the story resonates with the reader's own experiences, their own understanding. Allegory, it's much more about the author forcing a specific interpretation.
That makes a lot of sense. And speaking of creating a believable world, let's talk about the Shire.
Yes, the Shire.
It's presented as this idyllic self-contained world, almost untouched by the larger events of Middle-earth.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like Tolkien created this little microcosm
Yeah.
of a peaceful, pre-industrial society.
Yeah.
The Hobbits, they value tradition, they follow the rules very diligently, and their leader, the Thane, well, he has a mostly ceremonial role.
Yeah, he's like a combination of a mayor and a historian.
Precisely.
He's responsible for keeping records and presiding over important events, but doesn't have a lot of actual governing power.
You got it. And that detail actually speaks volumes about the Shire's history, how
Yeah.
it fits into the wider world. It suggests a time when leadership was less about power and more about preserving tradition and community.
So even though the Shire seems isolated, it's still connected to the larger history of Middle-earth in these subtle ways.
Well, absolutely.
And that's where the appendices come in, right?
Yes.
Those things are packed with information.
They're a treasure trove. Languages, genealogy, you name it.
They're amazing, right?
For Tolkien fans, the appendices are like, I don't know, like hidden treasure. They offer this incredible glimpse into the depth of his world building. Yeah, for instance, we learn that Peregrine Took, who we initially see as this, well, fun-loving hobbit,
Yeah.
he actually has scholarly interests. He's really into the Shire's history and language.
That seems like a small detail, but it ends up being pretty significant later on, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It foreshadows Pippin's later role in Gondor and his contribution to the fight against Sauron. It's like Tolkien saying, even seemingly insignificant details can have a huge impact on the bigger picture.
Right. It really shows how Tolkien thought through every aspect of his world. Speaking of seemingly small events that have big consequences, let's talk about Bilbo's sudden departure from the Shire at his 11th birthday party.
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine being a guest at that party?
I know.
It must have been quite a shock for everyone.
One minute they're enjoying the festivities, the next minute Bilbo disappears in a flash of light, leaving, 144 bewildered hobbits behind? It's quite the birthday bash.
Talk about an exit.
But this seemingly random event ties into Bilbo's earlier adventures, which he hints at in the foreword, and it really sets the stage for Frodo inheriting the ring.
Right, and it really foreshadows,
Yeah.
the enormous role that this seemingly simple ring will play in the fate of Middle-earth. It was like, Bilbo's been using it casually for decades. It highlights how little anyone understands its true nature at this point.
Then Gandalf shows up,
Oh, Gandalf.
and suddenly everything changes. He warns Frodo to keep the ring secret, safe, but he's pretty vague about why.
Cryptic, that Gandalf.
Yes. I remember feeling this growing sense of dread as I read that part.
Right. It's like this shadow falling over the Shire.
Yeah,
Gandalf, he clearly knows more than he's letting on,
yeah.
right? And his warnings just heighten the sense of danger.
Totally. And that feeling intensifies as rumors of strange events and black riders spread through the Shire. Then Frodo has that encounter with Gildor and Glorian, the Elf Lord, you remember?
Yes.
He urges Frodo to leave quickly and avoid the roads.
Don't take the main roads.
It really solidifies that something is seriously wrong.
Oh, yeah. Gildor's advice, it's like a giant red flag, right?
Yeah.
It highlights the growing threat of Sauron.
Yeah.
I remember Gandalf mentioning the enemy searching for the ring. Well, it seems the net is closing in.
So Frodo's journey starts out of necessity, out of fear, but it ultimately leads him to Rivendell.
Rivendell.
And that's where the Fellowship is formed.
Ah, yes. The Fellowship.
That's where everything changes, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure.
It goes from a lone hobbit trying to escape danger to this, well, this group of diverse characters coming together for a common purpose.
The Fellowship's formation, it's pivotal. It's like this microcosm of the different peoples of Middle-earth uniting against a common enemy.
Right.
You have Aragorn, the mysterious ranger. He's been tracking Gollum.
Yes.
And Gimli the dwarf.
Of course.
Legolas the elf.
And don't forget Gollum. Aragorn manages to capture him, but oh man, what a pursuit.
I know. It was not easy.
But capturing Gollum is crucial, right? Because
Yeah.
he holds vital information about the ring.
Oh, absolutely. Even Gandalf sought out Gollum to learn more about the ring. And, it's in Rivendell that we learn about Gandalf's own harrowing experiences, like his confrontation with Saruman and his escape from Orthanc.
Wow.
Yeah.
So much is happening.
It really adds to the sense of danger and urgency surrounding the Fellowship's mission, doesn't it?
Yes. Their journey is just beginning, and already they've faced so many challenges.
It's true.
What stands out to you about the Fellowship's formation and the early stages of their journey?
Let me think. I think what really strikes me is, let me think. I think what really strikes me is the sense of hope that comes with the Fellowship's formation. It's like, yeah, okay, they're facing this incredibly daunting task,
Right.
but they're not alone. They have each other.
Yeah. That's a good point. It really emphasizes the importance of, well, companionship and shared purpose, especially in the face of adversity.
It's interesting because those bonds are tested almost immediately.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as they leave Rivendell,
Oh, yeah.
they face their first major obstacle,
Yeah.
deciding whether to go through the Mines of Moria.
Oh, Moria. Just the name sends shivers down my spine. Talk about walking into the unknown.
I know, right? Even with Gandalf's vast knowledge, Moria is shrouded in mystery and danger. Remember, the dwarves delved too deep and unleashed something terrible.
Durin's Bane.
Yeah, Durin's Bane. It's even mentioned in the foreword,
Oh, that's right.
almost like a warning.
It's that element of foreshadowing again, right?
Yes.
Tolkien subtly hints at what's to come. And speaking of foreshadowing, remember when a flock of those creepy black crows, the Crebain, flies over the Fellowship as they're traveling?
Oh, yeah. That scene always makes me think about something Tolkien wrote in the foreword. He talks about how different real war is from the legendary kind. He says, if the story were a simple allegory, the ring would have been used against Sauron, not destroyed. But in reality, things are far more complex.
So it's like even in this fantasy world, he's acknowledging the messy realities of conflict.
Right.
There are no easy answers. And sometimes the good guys have to resort to, secrecy, maybe even deception to survive.
I agree. And I think that scene with the Crebain, it really highlights the paranoia and constant threat the Fellowship is under. I mean, they can't trust anyone, not even the birds.
Okay, so back to Moria.
Yes, back to Moria.
They finally find the doors of Durin, but it takes Gandalf's magic and some serious brain power to open them, and then, bam, the Watcher in the water. That scene is pure nightmare fuel.
I know. It's such a vivid and terrifying encounter. You can almost feel the icy water and the slimy tentacles of that creature as it tries to drag Frodo down.
And Sam, bless his heart, doesn't hesitate to jump in and try to save Frodo with his little knife. Talk about loyalty and courage.
He's a true friend.
But even after they escape the Watcher, Moria continues to be this relentless test of their endurance.
It's like one obstacle after another. Orcs, goblins, a cave troll. It's a reminder that even in this fantastical world, danger is always lurking around the corner.
And then, of course, they find Balin's tomb. That moment is just so heartbreaking, especially for Gimli.
I agree.
It really drives home the fact that, well, that even the bravest attempts can fail. And even in victory, there can be loss.
It's a sobering reminder, isn't it, of the cost of war,
Yes.
the lasting impact of conflict. But amidst the, well, the darkness and despair of Moria, they also find something else.
What's that?
Mithril.
Ah, yes. The legendary Moria silver. Stronger than steel, lighter than silk, and worth 10 times its weight in gold.
It's interesting that Tolkien actually mentions mithril in the foreword. He
Hmm.
talks about how the dwarves' greed for it ultimately led to their downfall. He writes, they delved too greedily and too deep and awakened something they couldn't control.
It's like that saying, be careful what you wish for. But let's be honest, the real be careful what you wish for moment comes when the Fellowship encounters the Balrog.
Oh, the Balrog. It's this terrifying creature of fire and shadow, an ancient evil that even Gandalf struggles to defeat.
His sacrifice on the bridge of Khazad-dûm is one of the most iconic moments in the entire story.
Absolutely. It's such a pivotal moment for the Fellowship. I mean, both literally and figuratively. They lose their guide, their protector, and they're forced to continue without him. And as Legolas describes it, a Balrog is, of all elf-banes, the most deadly, save the one who sits in the Dark Tower.
It really underscores the sheer scale of the threat they're facing. But even amidst the grief and fear, Aragorn steps up as their leader, guiding them out of Moria.
Right. It's like just when you think things can't get any worse, they emerge from Moria and are promptly chased by orcs. Talk about adding insult to injury.
Oh, I know. It's just relentless, isn't it? The darkness and claustrophobia of Moria, the loss of Gandalf, the pursuit of the orcs. It's really a testament to the Fellowship's resilience that they even make it out alive.
I agree.
And then they finally find refuge in Lothlorien, the Golden Wood, the home of the elves. It's like stepping into a completely different world.
It is. It's a beautiful contrast, isn't it?
Yes.
Lothlorien, it represents beauty, peace, ancient wisdom. It's a sanctuary from the encroaching darkness. And it's interesting because remember how Tolkien hints at the existence of such hidden realms in the foreword?
Yeah.
He writes that there are other powers and realms that you know not, and they are hidden from you.
It's like Lothlorien is this reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's still hope and beauty in the world.
I like that.
And they meet Galadriel, the Lady of the Woods. She's such an enigmatic and powerful figure.
She's incredible. And she gives each member of the Fellowship a gift. Gifts that prove to be incredibly significant later on.
Oh.
Think about the phial Galadriel gives Frodo, filled with the light of Arendelle, or the elven cloaks that help them hide from the enemy's gaze.
It's almost like she's equipping them for the challenges ahead.
Exactly. Both physically and spiritually.
But even in the sanctuary of Lothlorien, there are hints of trouble brewing.
Oh, yes.
We see Boromir's internal struggle with the ring intensify. He even tries to convince Frodo to use the ring's power for Gondor.
Oh, man, that scene is so tense. You can feel the temptation pulling at Boromir.
Right.
And Frodo's fear that he might lose control of the ring.
It really highlights the corrupting influence of power, even on someone as noble as Boromir.
It does. And it foreshadows the tragic events that will unfold later on. But before we get to that, we need to talk about Frodo's experience on Amon Hen, the Hill of Seeing.
Right. That's where he puts on the ring and is bombarded with visions.
Yes. And it's incredibly significant. I mean, Frodo, he sees the vastness of Middle-earth, the scope of the conflict, the overwhelming power of Sauron.
Well,
It's described so beautifully in the foreword, where Tolkien talks about the ring's ability to reveal hidden truths, to grant its wearer a glimpse into the unseen world.
it's a moment of both clarity and terror, isn't it?
For sure.
Frodo finally grasps the true danger he's in and the immense responsibility he carries.
And it's in this very moment that he makes the decision to leave the Fellowship, to continue the quest to Mordor alone.
But Sam, being Sam, he refuses to let him go alone.
Oh, Sam.
He jumps into the boat with Frodo, determined to stay by his side no matter what.
Their friendship it's a constant source of strength and hope throughout the story.
It really underscores the power of loyalty,
Yeah.
the importance of having someone to lean on, especially when facing, overwhelming odds. And it makes me think about those little moments of connection we see between the other members of the Fellowship, too, like Gimli and Legolas developing a grudging respect for each other, or Aragorn's quiet leadership emerging.
Those are good points.
It's like even though their mission is to destroy the ring, they're also finding strength and solace in each other.
Speaking of finding strength, It really is remarkable, isn't it?
What's that?
That even though the Fellowship is facing these overwhelming odds, they've lost Gandalf, they're separated now,
Yeah.
there's still this glimmer of hope.
I agree. That's the beauty of Tolkien's work, right?
Right.
Even in the darkest moments, there's always that flicker of light, a belief that even the smallest person can make a difference. And it's often in the most unexpected places that, well, that we find that strength. Remember how we talked about the appendices
Oh, yeah.
and the seemingly insignificant details they contain?
Like Pippin's scholarly interests or the history of the Thane.
Yeah, those things, exactly. They seem unimportant at first glance, but they really enrich the story.
Oh, they do.
They reveal these deeper truths about Tolkien's world. It's like he's reminding us that even the smallest actions, the mundane choices we make, can have this ripple effect,
It's true.
shaping the course of events in ways we may never fully understand.
They're like those little details. They're like the threads that weave together this grand tapestry.
The tapestry of the Lord of the Rings, and it makes you realize that even in our own lives, those small, everyday choices, they matter.
They really do. And that brings us back to you, dear listener. We've explored Tolkien's, well, his disdain for allegory,
Yeah.
the intricate world building that's revealed in the appendices, and of course, the Fellowship's harrowing journey through Moria. But we'd love to hear from you. What resonated most with you?
What stood out?
What connections did you make to your own experiences?
For me, I think what's always fascinated me is how Tolkien uses these seemingly ordinary details from the Shire, like Bilbo's initial use of the ring or the Hobbit's love of gardening,
Yes.
to set the stage for this epic battle for Middle-earth. It's like it makes the stakes feel so much higher knowing what they're fighting to protect.
That's a great point. It's the contrast, isn't it, between the idyllic Shire and the encroaching darkness.
Yes.
That's what makes the threat feel so real, so urgent. And it's a reminder that even in the most peaceful of times, there's always a potential for conflict, the need for courage.
It makes you appreciate the importance of, well, of cherishing the simple things,
It's
the
just,
everyday joys that make life worth living. And it makes you realize that those seemingly small acts of kindness and resistance, they can actually have a profound impact.
I agree. It's a message that resonates, especially in today's world. We all have a role to play in the fight against darkness, whether it's standing up for what's right or speaking out against injustice or simply offering a helping hand to those in need.
And sometimes the most heroic acts are the quietest ones, the ones that go unnoticed by the world at large, like Sam's unwavering loyalty to Frodo or Frodo's own determination to carry the burden of the ring, even when it seems impossible.
Those acts of courage and selflessness, those are what truly inspire us, right? They remind us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope endures.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Tolkien's world, we want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. We've discussed the power of details, the importance of choices, and the enduring themes of hope and courage. But what about the role of language and song? In shaping Middle-earth, how do they contribute to the overall narrative and themes?
That's a good question.
We encourage you to revisit the source material, particularly the appendices, and see what insights you discover. There's a wealth of knowledge and enjoyment waiting to be uncovered in Tolkien's masterful creation.